Hey everybody, welcome back to Pete's Caustic Cycle. Pete here, and today I just want to take a bit of time to sit down and talk about 2023. Ups and downs and good things and bad things, and kind of just share some insight and background information that maybe you guys aren't all aware of. I see a lot of people online kind of doing these year in review videos, so I figured why not? Kind of a general overview of 2023. A lot of really cool, exciting things. In my opinion, some big mind-blowing things I never thought would have happened. On the flip side, there are a lot of personal things going on in my life with my family, as far as some health things that went on, which took me away from building and working on bikes. That kind of slowed down some of the content I was releasing, but that also gave me the opportunity to shift focus and kind of change up some of my videos and focus on other people's bikes. So sit down, grab some popcorn, let's go for a ride. So I'll try to break this up into kind of categories of different things, different videos and experiences I had this year to kind of keep it organized. Category number one, history. Tons and tons of history that we discovered and shared, or that I discovered and shared with you guys this year. Stuff that I still today blows me away. First off, we had the discovery of the 1972 Kawasaki press kit. From all of my research, talking to all of the collectors and experts, nobody has ever seen one of these before. It's definitely the only one that's ever been documented. And there was something that I just kind of stumbled across randomly, did some research, was able to contact the original recipient of it. They confirmed what it was, and I was able to share it with all of you guys. So it's this, again, super cool history. This really nice open up pamphlet. It's got all the original copies of the adverts for all of the bikes for 1972. It's got storyboards of all the TV commercials they had. It's got vinyl records with all of the theme songs, full press schedule from magazines and TV press schedules and when the commercials were going to air. This really cool press kit. I honestly thought of just buying a few Kawasaki brochures and said, sure, send them all to me. And it wasn't until after I got it that I realized, holy cow, these aren't brochures. And this is something incredibly special. And through some contacts, able to trace down the original owner and get the full history on it. Like, unbelievable. Super cool. Through the same person I got that from, I got the original press photos and press release letter from Kawasaki to Cycle Canada, which is Canada's prominent motorcycle magazine. So in 1972, this is the letter in the actual original images that Kawasaki sent out to all the different press organizations to launch the Z1. So it was all the information that was used in the articles, the photographs that were used in the articles, if that particular magazine wasn't able to photograph the bike for themselves. So like super cool. I mean, like the original documents that started the whole Z1 craze. Absolutely unbelievable to have that. And I've mentioned before, and I've got videos on it, but my dad bought a brand new Z1 in '73, and he was inspired by an article in Cycle Canada. So like this was the letter that was given to Cycle Canada, used to write the article that inspired my dad, and then we've got all of this. So it's some really cool history there, some stuff that's never been seen before, and able to share it with everybody. And then, of course, how can we forget, recently I revealed the two new old stock triple motors, the jailbreak triples. What another incredible story. The gentleman that owns them, never talked to him before, never met him. He just shot me a message out of the blue because he knew I was in the triples, kind of said, hey, Pete, I hear you like these bikes. What can you tell me about these motors? Kind of introduced myself, told him what I do, did a little bit of research, talked to a few experts, was able to get back to him. And then he basically said, basically verbatim, see you like making videos on history. How would you like to make a video on these motors? Well, how are we going to do that, Steve? I'll ship them to you. So this guy, never met him, literally lives on the other side of the country, ships me these motors. Two new old stock Kawasaki triple motors. These things are, in my opinion, completely priceless. Ships them to me, where I'm able to then take them out, clean off the 50 years worth of dust and document them. And again, share exactly how these triple motors came from Kawasaki as a restoration reference. Blew me away. It's amazing how everybody's just so, we all speak the same language, it's absolutely incredible. So again, lots of history that was kind of discovered and shared. And then moving on with more history, my Motor Spirit series. If you've been following my channel, every year I sit down with a few people from all different types of background and involvement in the motorcycle industry and have them share their spirit or their story in this series of mine called Motor Spirit. So basically have them talk about what fuels their spirit. So this year I was very, very lucky. I was able to sit down with two legends in the game, By Gast, founder and owner of By Gast, and Jason Britton, OG, pioneer of motorcycle stunt riding. So again, By Gast welcomed me into his shop. Basically, spent the whole day with him, and his shop is absolutely incredible. To sit down with Paul, to see him work. The guy's 74 years old, and he does not stop. And you could almost go as far as saying the guy's like a nut job, but in the best way possible. Like you just go. Hey, Pete, come check this out. Next thing you know, he drags me to a back room where he starts porting cylinders. His machine is Bessem. It's like a human CNC machine. Watching work the mill on the two different axes blew me away. And then talk with the history that's on the walls of that place. The whole shop, every single wall is a collage of Paul's history. From his very first drag bike that he built back in the early 70s, through his time racing with Dave Schultz. So to have Dave's original pit shirts and gas tank off his famed H2, all this history all over Paul's shop. I mean, heaven forbid, but if By Gast ever went out of business, I mean, just change the name to By Gast Kawasaki Triple Museum and reopen the doors the next day, and you'll still be making money. This place is incredible. I would pay to have a tour of that, and I'm sure many of you would as well. And again, Jason Britton, pioneer of motorcycle stunt riding, started doing it in the 90s, was famed with taking it from the streets to events and mainstream culture, sponsored by Kawasaki, sponsored by Icon, sponsored by Monster Energy. This guy is still doing it strong. And to have him come up to upstate New York and take time out of his schedule on the day he's doing 2 stunt shows to talk to me. We literally had to rearrange the showroom at Hebler Sales and Service to make a film set because it was pouring rain outside. We couldn't film in front of his trailer like I had originally planned. And Jason just talked. What a complete humble, down-to-earth guy. If you didn't know he was this rock star in the world of motorcycling, you would never guess. Just complete, normal, down-to-earth guy. No sense of an ego whatsoever. Just absolutely amazing. Looking back, it's crazy to think how this hobby takes me to these places to meet these people. It's so humbling and gratifying to have these opportunities. And speaking of opportunities, in April, I brought a few of my bikes to the Toronto Spring Show. If you're not familiar with the Toronto motorcycle shows, there's 2 big ones. There's the Toronto Spring Show and the Toronto International Motorcycle Show, both of which are insanely huge and are arguably the biggest motorcycle shows and industry shows in North America. So I brought a few of my bikes down, my H2, my Top Gun GPZ, my brother's S2 350 Gold Member that him and I put together, and then the 400 triple mini bike. And we took home a bunch of awards. The Top Gun bike and mini bike with the 400 triple in it took 2nd and 3rd in the special interest category. And my H2, which is like my baby, got 1st place in vintage Japanese from 1970 to 1979, and then best vintage bike overall. Again, blown away. Never in a million years would I think of that. To be judged by my peers and people who I respect and win these awards, man, I don't want to say it validates what I'm doing, but it's certainly encouraging and kind of put some wind in my sails, that all this work and all this effort wasn't for vain, wasn't in vain. And then out of that, Kawasaki Canada ended up contacting me and came down to my house to film a segment for a TV show called Motorcycle Experience. So the host, his film cameraman, and a representative from Kawasaki Canada came down. We took out all my Kawasaki's, did a really nice piece on them all, kind of shared my passion about the old Kawasaki's, what got me into them, what I love about them, and how that translates to modern bikes, because I've got the new 50th anniversary Z1, Z900 RS. So again, to be judged by my peers, Kawasaki Canada picked me to come to my house to film a segment about Kawasaki history. Blows my mind. I love it. I still can't believe it. And I mentioned shifting gears in my videos, kind of changing my focus. Because I wasn't building bikes, I wasn't in the garage filming much content. So next best thing was film other people's bikes. Fortunately, I've met a lot of great people, a lot of enthusiasts and collectors who are more than happy to have me come down to their houses and film their collections. So one gentleman had me come down and film his Ducati Desmo Sedici RR, which, if you're not familiar, is the closest you'll get to a MotoGP bike for the street. And it's the last of an era. Full analog bike, incredibly rare, incredibly valuable, incredibly collectible. And on top of that, he also had the very first Canadian RG500 Walter Wolf. It's no different than any other Walter Wolf, but this was the first one, which makes it a little bit special, in my opinion. So I was able to film both of his bikes. He was very, very kind, very hospitable. And then even at one point he said, "Pete, I gotta go inside for supper. Here's the keys to the Ducati. Start it up, do whatever you want." It's $100,000 motorcycle or 75,000 US, depending where you are. And for him just to go, "Yeah, here are the keys. You're one of two people I trust." Where did that come from? I wouldn't trust myself, but he trusted me. So amazing. I got to visit and meet a really great guy named Paul, who shared his story about his Kawasaki S2. Bought it when he was a kid in 1976, rode the piss out of it. Unfortunately, let it rot to pretty much nothing. And then over the last couple of years, built it back. And now he's got this gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful Kawasaki S2. And again, to have him welcome me into his home, meet his wife, meet his brother, they're all so hospitable. Incredibly awesome experience. And to hear his stories, this is one of those guys that rode their triple. These bikes they were hooligan bikes back in the day. Nowadays, they're mostly just show queens and, Sunday cruisers. But back in the day, they were hooligan bikes. And this guy rode the piss out of his bike. His stories were absolutely incredible. And even some of the ones he didn't share on camera were probably even more insane than the ones he did share. So that was super cool. Got to sit down with Robbie Wilson again, kind of my 80s two-stroke guru. He was in Motorsports episode 4. But again, went back to Robie House, pulled out two of his bikes, his RG400 Walter Wolf and his Yamaha RZV 500R, both Japanese imports to North America. And to share the differences between the Canadian versions and the Japanese versions and the different mods he did and what the pros and cons to each bike and how they ride. Super, super cool. Other things kind of going on. Again, talking about cool opportunities, I got to go to the Canadian Motorcycle Hall of Fame induction dinner. Maybe the most prestigious event in Canadian motorcycling industry. But I was invited to go as a guest to a guest of Greg Williams, who was an inductee this year. If you don't know, Greg is the son of John Williams, who's a U.S. hill climbing legend. But not only does John have over a dozen titles to his name, his sons Wade and Greg, also world national champions, and their bike builder, Nick Kemp, he worked for factory Kawasaki, he worked for factory Honda on their race programs. And then on the side, just for fun, built these 300 horsepower nitro injected hill climbers. I haven't talked about this too much, but I sat down with all of these guys earlier in the year, and I'm working on a full-length documentary that I'm going to be submitting to a couple film festivals next year. So between the three of these guys, there's over 20 world and national titles. They're all Hall of Fame members, including the builder Nick Kemp. And for over 30 years, these guys just dominated the U.S. hill climb scene. And on top of that, they did it with such professionalism that, they were sponsored by STP. They all, drove down in the STP van. They conducted themselves like true gentlemen. They all wore matching uniforms. They were very, very professional and very sportsmanlike. From talking to people that competed with them and watched them, they all had the same thing to say. The Canadians came down, they won, they kicked ass, but they were very, very polite. So as a fellow Canadian, I just gets you right in the fields, kind of like every year at hockey. We'll kick your ass, but we'll smile and say thank you at the end of the game. So, man, like, unbelievable how these opportunities all come. So I'm always trying to come up with new ways to help the community, whether it's through technical videos, these historical videos. A lot of times people message me, where do I find parts for these bikes? Some parts are just, unfortunately, hard to get. But thankfully, there's a lot of companies out there now providing really high quality reproduction parts. And Z1 Parts is one of those companies. So I approached them to work on a partnership deal. They were very receptive to the idea. We had a lot of dialogue, conversation back and forth, and we came up with the idea of doing a Pete's Classic Cycle discount code. So you go on their website, you fill up your shopping cart, and then on checkout, you use discount code PETE23 and you save 5%. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you've ever built one of these bikes, worked on these projects, you know how much the bill adds up. So, every dollar counts. They were really, really welcoming to the idea. It was a lot of fun shooting some funny satirical commercials with them. Yes, my new package from Z1 Parts arrived. Now I can finally finish my build. How much did you spend on those parts? Saved a lot of money through Pete's Classic Cycle discount code. Oh, okay. Thanks, Pete. So huge thank you to z1parts.net for helping me help all of you guys. So again, like, just another way the community works together. They didn't have to listen to me. They don't need my promotion. They're a huge company. They're a huge player in the game. But they were very receptive to the idea. Never in a million years thought I'd be working with such a great company, or even any company, to be perfectly honest. So awesome. Thank you, z1parts.net, for, again, adding to this great year we had at Pete's Classic Cycle. And how could I forget? Because, of course, Rick, from Rick's Motorsports Electronics down in New Hampshire. Man, Rick, if you're watching this, thank you so much. If you don't know, I've only done one post about this, but Rick sold me Kawasaki H2 VIN number 59. This is one of the top 5 earliest H2s known to exist, if not definitely the top 10 earliest H2s known to exist. And he sold it to me. And again, drove 8 hours down to New Hampshire. Rick, one of his employees, Mike, who's a big Kawasaki guy, and the rest of their crew there took me around, gave me a big tour of their facility, Rick's Motorsports Electronics, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that they even admitted they don't really show many people. Those guys, they build world-class product, and they're responsible for keeping our bikes running by recreating all these electronics for vintage bikes. but there's family there. I mean, it's a huge facility, and you can just tell everybody there is passionate about bikes. They're so humbling, they're so welcoming. Kind of a reoccurring theme in this video. They didn't know me, they didn't know who I was, but we spoke the same language, motorcycles. And because of that, they welcomed me with open arms. I mean, I went through not knowing them, and I left there considering them all my friends. Thank you, Rick. VIN number H259. You could have sold it to anybody, could have gone overseas, could have gone to a museum, could have gone to a private collection. But again, going back to history, it's here, it's going to be documented, it's going to be restored, full concourse restoration. I'm planning to go overboard with this thing. Hopefully not over budget, but definitely overboard, and rebuild one of the earliest H2s known to exist, the perfect concourse condition. So that's going to be a really exciting project. So thank you, everybody, for supporting Pete's Classic Cycle, for following these videos, for giving your input. Again, your input is invaluable. I love sharing this history, but I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I have to research all the videos I do before I release them. So every comment you have, every criticism you have, everything you guys input to me, I then love to share that knowledge back with everybody. I don't want to say I love you all, but I thank you. I love what I do. I love sharing this. I love the community. So thank you, everybody. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. A lot of cool stuff in store for 2024. Hopefully I get back into the builds, because my life is starting to find a balance between work and personal stuff and health and all that. So thank you. Pete's Classic Cycle 2023. Signing out. Ride safe, guys.